Hello, I hope everyone's well tonight. My name is Avril and I'm from BDA Scotland. Today's BSL Blether is about the cost of living crisis. As you all know, we're very concerned about this issue at the moment as we head into winter. And, we're all thinking about how we're going to manage our budgets, how we're going to stay safe. So we've got some tips for you tonight. We're going to be looking at this cost of living crisis and how we can handle it. Everybody's concerned about it. We've been thinking about electricity, we've been thinking about gas and so on. And a lot of information is coming through on a lot of channels, in the newspapers and on television and so on. So this is the topic we'd like to address this evening. We want to look at tips for the deaf community, how we can stay safe. But before we start, I do want to say we are not qualified to give you information on all of these issues. We're just here tonight to give you some handy tips to provide you with some choices and some things to consider. So we're not qualified to give you any particular advice about your gas or electricity bills. That's not what the BDA is for. You need to be contacting the company that provides your facilities to talk about any issues you have with your electricity or gas. So now that that's clear, I'd like to introduce you to our guest for this evening, who is Angel Walford. Angel's here to join us, so I'd like to welcome her here today. Hi, Angel, how are you?
Hi there.
Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Now, I know that you've set up a Facebook group, Angel's Tips.
That's right.
And I know that you've been giving out a lot of information on Facebook and showing some good examples of things that people can do. And so that's why we've invited you here tonight. And I know that you've got lots of top tips to help us through the cost of living crisis. And obviously, you're going to give those tips in BSL, which is great. And it's a lovely resource for the deaf community to have, your Facebook page. Just before we start, can I ask you about that and why you set up that Facebook group, Angel's Tips?
Okay. Well, I've always been the person who's quite creative. I like doing crafts. I love handmade things. It's just really through my father. When I was
Okay.
young, my father really, he was a strong maker of things, and I think I just copied him. And my brother and I are the same, so we sort of copied our sort of father's approach, and we do things ourselves. The other thing is we came from a very poor family, so a lot of our things were handmade rather than spending things at the shop, and I've
Lovely.
continued that. And that's why I kind of thought, it's incumbent of me to sort of help people within the deaf community because I'm part of it.
Yeah, and homemade things are lovely. I mean, you've got home tips as well, haven't you, on cleaning and all sorts of things. And I think, you've really inspired a lot of deaf people and changed their shopping habits. And I think it's really important for us to share this kind of information, right?
Yeah, also, it's good to actually explain what a thing is because for a lot of deaf people, we don't know what it really does. But if I explain it, then people can make the choice.
Great. Well, thank you for bringing some tips tonight. But how long has Angel Tips been going as a Facebook group?
Oh, 3 years or 4 years? Oh no, maybe it's 4 years now. I think
Oh,
it's 4 years. I think we've been 4 years.
it's very popular, so it's really well managed, and congratulations to you for setting that up, and thank you very much for coming this evening. So let's get stuck into this idea of the cost of living crisis that we're all living in right now, which seems to be worsening, or at least we're feeling the effects more as we head
Yeah,
into
well,
winter and people
you
are
can see
concerned.
I've got a fleece on.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, you said that you're going to bring some things along to show us this evening and give us a few tips um, uh, to share with the deaf community, give them some choices and some options. That might be that deaf people are watching tonight and they might want to make comments, they might want to share their own tips. But and they're very welcome to do that, members of the audience, if you'd like to. But let's see what your tips are first, Angel.
Okay, when I first set up Angel Tips 4 years ago, what happened was the cost of living obviously took over. So I then thought I have to really sort of make sure that I think about the people who were like me when I was young, who were poor, maybe in
Right.
a house they couldn't heat. So that's what I was doing. I mean, I think nowadays we've got more things that are better than I had at my time. For example, you
What's
know,
this?
yeah, it's like a big snood thing and it keeps you warm and it goes all over you. Do you see it? Look, it's fleece lined.
Well, that looks warm, yeah.
I got that about 4 years ago, would you believe it? And at that time, obviously, I wasn't thinking about the cost of living,
You were
but
prepared.
I've always been, I'm single. I always manage my budget. I look at how much I spend in gas, electricity. So there's something that I purchased 4 years ago.
And have you used that a lot?
Oh, Avril, it's amazing. It is so warm. I mean, the last you used to get it and it was just sort of maybe above your knees, but now you get them right down to your ankles and they're amazing. So these are new long ones, they're fantastic. And it's really suitable for all ages and men, females, but also just to let you know, think about your animals if you've got a dog. There's dog wee hoodies as well, because some people maybe sleep with their dog, or they can't sleep with the dog rather, or they're in a kennel, or there's somebody and they need the dogs get cold as well. So you have to think about putting something on the dog. I've got pictures to show you.
Well, that's a good idea, isn't it, to include animals as well?
Hang on, I'll be right with you. It's £9, that's all. Do you see it?
Oh, it's got a wee hoodie on the dog, yeah.
Oh, it's so cute. And you just keep it on the wee one overnight and it keeps the dog warm. And also think about, a soft bed, and maybe put the dog upstairs because the heat will rise and it'll keep him warm.
Yeah. So if you're turning your heaters off through the night and your radiators off through the night, you need to think about keeping your animals warm, right? And also, if people can't have their animals in their bed with them to keep them and their animals warm,
I have them in my bed.
but that would save money, wouldn't it? Just to hug your animal in bed, that would keep you warm.
There is some people it's just not for them, and that's absolutely fine. That's a bit choice, but that's why I'm giving you the alternative. Also, a good thing is having really thick socks, or those kind of like boot slippers kind of thing that keep you really warm.
Uh-huh.
It's about keeping the whole body warm.
So just back to the dogs, can I ask about cats for the cat owners amongst us?
I'm not sure, but cats usually can get a kind of like just that wee thing that goes over their body, but I'm not sure about anything else.
Okay, so
just to let you know, OHS means online home shop. So that's what it stands for.
Are available too. Yeah.
And they have lots of selections there, and they really are quite reasonable. And look at the sale items; you'll get a good bargain there.
So just talking about clothes, you know that people often wear really thick hoodies and things, but you can also go for thermals, can't you? I've got mine right here.
Well, that's a good one. That's the one they would use for skiing. That'll keep you really warm.
That's right. So that keeps you warm by wearing that underneath, right? And you can get leggings as well, kind of thermal underwear.
You can sleep in them.
Yeah, and you don't have to wear outer layers. You can wear lots and lots of thinner inner layers, and that keeps you warm as well, right?
If you go to Primark, they have, I think they have some thermals there, £4 or £5.
Right. Again, I think there are lots of other retailers available as well, aren't there? And when you're talking about things in the home, obviously, I think the thing that we all think about is this.
Oh, yeah, the hot water
The hot
bottle.
water bottle, the traditional.
Hang on, think about, before you do the hot water, we have to think about the kettle.
But it lasts quite a long time, doesn't it? You know, instead of paying to heat the whole room, you can be heated for hours by just cuddling your hot water bottle.
Absolutely.
And look what I found. Look at that.
That's so long.
I know. Look at that. It's so cuddly. You can put it around your neck. Look.
Oh, fabulous.
So, any more tips, Angel, for things to do in the home?
Well, if in anybody's typical home, usually the doors, there'll be a draft.
And you
That's
need one
what
of
I was
these,
just
right?
about to mention. It is really wise to get draft excluders to prevent that draft coming in.
Just
And
around the bottom of the doors.
Yep, just put them all around the doors and it'll keep you nice and warm. You know, and then lie and watch a film with blankets.
And what about curtains? Thicker curtains, would you suggest, to stop the wind coming
Well,
through?
the first thing you have to do is really think about shutting the curtains, but before that, you have to think of your conditions of your windows. You know, there's if the windows are not great, then I can remember in the old days that my father would put cling film in,
Oh,
and that would
really? So
keep the
cling
draft.
film
So you just
over
it's
the window.
I think you can get them from B&Q. They're like cling film, but there's these sheets, and they just suck to the window, and that stops any drafts coming in the window.
Okay. I've noticed that some houses have this kind of silver foil sort of stuff.
That's for behind the radiators.
And would you put
And
it on the windows too, or?
yeah, I mean, it really it's the radiators. What it does, it helps, or rather prevents from the wall absorbing the heat.
So
But you can
behind the
also
radiator.
but you can also get things for the front as well. So it really does, having that at the back and preventing that loss of heat is actually better for you. So, you know, it really could, because what it does is they have these silver foils at B&Q, or you can make it yourself. A bit of cardboard and a bit of foil. You just need the foil there to radiate the heat back.
Okay. You had a tip for us about blankets, I think, as well, didn't you?
Yeah, you'll know it's really popular, and I think everyone's got them. Throws. They're really cheap now. Yeah, you see that even you lying watching the TV and you put a throw on you. Well, in the old days we used to have an electric blanket.
Oh,
Now
yes.
what's happening is called these electric throws,
Oh, yeah.
and they're so cheap to run. Maybe 2p to 4p for an hour,
Right.
and that's all in electricity. So for say an hour, it's 2 pence, and you put it on lower for 2 pence, maybe on high for 4 pence, and you wrap it round you, and that keeps you warm. And at the same time, you know that it's only 2 pence, and it's really good for people, particularly in the winter, suffer from arthritis. Wrapping that round can really help, or maybe someone who's just a bit poorly.
And do you have one? Do you have one of those electric throws?
Not yet. I've been planning to order one, but I definitely will.
I was wondering, you plug
I
it
think
in, do you?
Amazon have it as well. There's loads out there. Honestly, the
Okay,
running cost is so cheap, and I've really checked that. So I'll definitely
that's
plan to order
interesting.
one. Maybe I'll buy it for a present for my mum. I think she'd love that for a
A
Christmas.
nice Christmas present, yeah. And talking about being in bed, any advice or any tips for keeping warm in bed?
Yeah, I do. You know how everybody has their mattresses, and
Yeah.
sometimes the mattresses are quite cold, and you would buy, mattress toppers, and some people can't afford them. They can be quite expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've got an alternative. What you can do is, when your mattress is cold, put on top of your mattress just a normal throw, something like that.
Right.
Anything at all, any kind of throw. If you put that over your mattress, and then put your fitted sheet on top. What
Uh-huh.
happens
Good
is
idea.
that helps or prevents again from the cold of the mattress. And then it's making it a bit more comfortable for you and a bit warmer. So you can just use a throw. It's only cheap, £9 or £10
Great.
it'll cost you. And then put your sheet on top. So that's an alternative to mattress topper.
Good idea. So this goes under your bed sheet and keeps you warm, and it's just a throw over the mattress underneath the fitted sheet. Great idea.
And it's good. And it's also, say, if you've got a husband or a wife, a single sex couple, it doesn't matter if one's hot or cold.
Yeah, hot
You know,
flushes
some
maybe.
women can,
Yeah,
get the flushes
through the menopause.
and maybe don't want that. That's the last thing they want in their bed. Well, that's okay as well, because all you have to do with the throwers is just fold it in half and put it in half.
Oh, yeah.
So the person who wants the coldness from the mattress is happy, and the other person who wants the heat is happy
Good
to
idea.
throw.
Just fold it. Yeah.
Or, as I said before, you just put it all over the bed. Do you know
And
your
you have something
pillow?
about pillows for us.
Yeah. So when everybody's sleeping, right, usually what happens is people sleep one position and then 2 hours later you move to another, and it can wake you up because it's so cold.
It does happen that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I've been doing is been getting a fleece, a sort of fleece throw thing. You can see it. Hopefully, you can see the material.
Oh, it
Yeah.
looks nice and soft
And
and
I've
cozy.
been putting that on top of the pillow and tucking it in all around it. And my goodness, what a wonderful sleep. Because when you turn over, you still have that warmth and it's lovely.
Right, yeah. So you've got your mattress covered to save money, and then you've got a throw, and then you've got this, you've
Yep.
got a throw underneath the sheet to cover your mattress, and then you've got this cozy thing around your pillow to keep you nice and warm as you toss and turn through the night.
Just tuck it in, and honestly, you will not wake up with a change in temperature, I
And have you done
guarantee.
that? Good
Oh
tip.
yeah, yeah. And I know that some people have bought, the faux fur. We call them sort of like teddy
What do
bear
you mean by that?
kind of
What do you mean?
blankets things. I'll show you. There you go. Do you see it? So it's like fake
Oh,
kind of
yes. So
fur.
it looks like fur, and you call that a teddy throw, do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But that, if you look, if I can make it a bit bigger. Whoops. Can we see
Not
properly?
sure we can quite see
Oh,
that.
there we go.
Ah, yes, got it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You see it?
Oh, yes, I can see the texture of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Some people may find that they can't afford that, or people are going, whoa, that's just too hot for me for hot
Sure.
flushes. So you can balance it. Maybe some people maybe think just under the mattress is enough. I mean, it's too hot for me that I would toss and turn, but it would depend on who you are. Children love it. Somebody that's maybe finished with the menopause, warm, older people to keep them warm, they could really love that. It's actually
So do you use that as a cover for the bed, over the top of the bed, or?
yeah, it's a quilt cover, and it's got buttons at the bottom.
Oh, wow. So you have your quilt inside that as well.
Yeah, and it has pillowcases too.
Great. Nice idea.
For a single one, it's £22 from
And that's
Amazon.
on Amazon.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, you can use that, that's one expenditure, isn't it? But it lasts you for a long time. Great. Okay. So we've talked about keeping warm in bed, and we've talked about keeping warm in other ways. Anything else in the home, out and around the home, that you can think of? Any more tips? Maybe about lights, for example, or anything like that to help us save electricity?
Well, I think for everybody, be sensible. That's the thing. Don't just willy-nilly putting all the lights on and everything else. Think about where you're going and keep the light on where you are, not where
Yeah.
you're going to, or think about, or where you're not in. So I know it's sometimes difficult, with young people, explain the importance, but it is important. And I think what you need to do is turn everything off before you go to your bed.
Like it kind of make sure anything that's glowing red at the plug socket should be turned off, right?
Absolutely, get them all off because your prices will go up.
And what about when you're sitting, in your sofa or whatever, and you've got the lights on around you? Bulbs can be quite expensive to keep replacing, can't they? Have you got any tips for that sort of thing?
Well, see, before I answer that, Avril, you can get some smart bulbs
Oh yeah,
that
what's
are that in the olden days, our main lights were 100 watt, 150 watt. Now they're only 5 watts, so that's cheaper as well.
You used to have those old shaped bulbs, didn't you, that were quite expensive, and they're very thin now, aren't they? A different shape with a kind of different shaped
Yeah,
filament inside.
that's right. But because the wattage is so low, they'll last for longer. Um, and it maybe 4 or 5 hours could be 1p. I mean, I'm just guessing at that. But what I would say to people is if anybody's ever worried about maybe a power cut or a potential outage, invest in one of these.
What's that?
See that at the top? That the
Is that
black bit?
solar?
Yes, it's a solar lamp.
So there's no battery in it or
Yeah,
anything?
you walk around with it, look.
How does it work?
Honestly. So what happens is through the day, just normal daylight, we're not looking for a full sun, just put it in normal daylight. It will absorb um, from the sun, and then it'll charge the cell up, and then at night time, you put it on and use it for probably up to about 6 hours, and then you repeat the cycle the next day.
So you need to put it by a window in the daytime.
Yeah, just by a window, maybe on a shelf or something like that, and allow it to be in the daylight, and it will charge itself. And then if you ever get a power cut, you've got something that you can walk about and you don't need to worry about batteries. A torch, you need to make sure
Well,
you've got
how about
batteries.
that? And how long does it keep going?
Um, I don't know how long it's not ran out for me yet, but there's lots of shops, and you have to look for the solar lamp. So for me, it's a case of if there was ever a power cut or an electrical outage, that's something I could use.
And I mean, we're not kind of blessed with Caribbean sunshine over here in the British Isles. Will
Yeah,
it still work?
absolutely. It's just daylight. So in some people's roofs they have solar panels on them.
Yes, I've seen those solar
Well,
panels.
there's
Yeah,
no sun, but it's still working. It's
true.
daylight, so it's exactly the same principle as this.
Well, that's very useful, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, for
Great.
me, you could
Great
have that.
innovation. And you could have those around the house, couldn't you? And you're saving electricity. So that's really perfect. They're good
Absolutely.
savers. Great. So I'm sure lots of deaf people in our audience tonight are now thinking about
I
buying solar lamps
would
and having those around the
recommend.
house because, as you say, at night, that's a really good alternative source of light.
The one thing I would say is, when you have to go and put it out in the window, put it into one of the biggest windows, where you
Right.
get the most light, because that will make it charge.
And how long does it need to charge?
Maybe 5-6 hours.
And I guess it depends on the size of the lamp and the size of
That's
the
huge. Look at it. There's
panel. So that's
plenty in that.
marvelous. Yeah, that's marvelous.
I mean, you could have two,
Yeah, yeah.
and one you keep off, and that one you keep on, and then
Just
when that
alternating.
ran
Yeah,
out, swap the other one. Yeah,
yeah,
so
true.
you could do that.
Fabulous. And are these a recent innovation? Have you just bought that recently?
Oh, I think I bought them in May, I think, because I was thinking about the winter. They have them in various retailers, B&Q, or different places. You can have bigger ones, smaller ones, but have a look. There are lots of places.
And you could have them all in different rooms, couldn't you? One in the hall, one in the...
Imagine it, Avril, you could have it in a bath, no electricity, so
True,
it's
good
safe.
idea. It might get a bit hazy in the steam,
Oh,
right?
it'd be lovely. Imagine. Put it near the window, a shelf near the window.
Splendid. Thank you. That's a great idea. That's a really new thing. Any more tips for us, Angel? Anything else you can think of?
I know that sometimes people get really, really cold and they think, what can I do? You know, but honestly, getting yourself into a wee routine of doing some exercise, going for a walk with the dog, or even a wee burst of cleaning. Just remember when you get out, make sure you're well wrapped, hat, scarf, gloves, and everything. And then when you come back, your whole body will feel energized and you feel warm. And then just put your big snood on and your big warm blanket, and then can go straight to your bed and you'll feel lovely. Or you can make you some soup, and that soup will really heat up your core.
So when you're talking about soup, any more advice in that area for us?
Oh, absolutely. Homemade soup, and also add a tiny bit of chili or
Why
some
chili?
spice to it. The reason being is it will just radiate in your core for that wee bit longer and keep you warm.
I'm not a great chili fan though, so how
Oh,
would I?
tomato soup.
Okay, so something nice and warm inside your body.
Just watching a film, a wee mug of soup.
And the soup's pretty cheap as well, isn't it? You can get tin soup that's quite cheap. So that's a good thing to keep people warm. So while we're talking about food, when you're in the kitchen, I'm thinking, we talked earlier about kettles, and there's this debate about, do you have the kettle full or not? Can you talk to us about the kitchen?
Yeah, there has been a lot of debate about it. But sometimes when you go to a shop and you maybe ask for a coffee and they'll charge you £3, but putting a kettle on your house is 9 pence, you can see the sort of the comparison from internal to external.
Yeah.
However, what I would say is if you're boiling a kettle, boil a full kettle, get a flask ready, and then once you've had your tea or coffee, whatever, or rather, once you've poured out your water, your tea and coffee, fill it in the flask. It'll stay warm for 6 to 8 hours. It'll save you money. You never need to put the kettle on, and you can just pour from that throughout the
You've
day.
just boiled it once, right? And you've got 6 to 8 kind of cups of coffee, and you can take that to work with you, can't you? And around wherever you go.
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing is, if you go to work and there's a kettle there, bring your empty flask and fill it.
Aye,
Save
true.
your
Interesting.
electricity.
So while we're still in the kitchen, and we're talking about food and cooking food, if you've just cooked food and you've got a nice hot oven, obviously, when we're talking about saving money, if you've just taken something out of the oven, you should leave the door open, right? To let the heat out. Is that right?
Absolutely, Avril. Open up just a wee bit, but enough to let the heat out. The reason don't put it on full is because it could be an accident. For a child, it really is. It could be a hazard. If you're on your own, that's absolutely fine. But we know that people now are not actually using the oven. They're
Air
using air
fryer.
fryers and things now.
So I've
Yeah,
heard that. I've seen this.
that's a sign I've seen
What
for
is
it.
this?
It's an air fryer. And you can put your chicken, your meat, your veg, and everything, and it's a lot quicker. Also, the running cost for an oven is a lot more expensive compared to the air fryer. So this is becoming a really popular gadget now that people are using.
Oh, really?
So that from the oven, you still get that extra heat. You don't get
So
that for the air fryer.
this air fryer is cheaper, but is it quicker than an oven or?
Yeah, definitely. Say, for example, you put something in the oven for 40 minutes. Say it was potatoes, the air fryer, 20 minutes. So it
Wow, so you are
reduces it,
saving.
and also, obviously, the time reduces your bill. So that's why it comes in cheaper.
So you buy this in addition to your oven, but it's an investment, but you earn that back over time, right? And is it healthier if you cook in this air fryer?
Well, apparently it has the same sort of health benefits as putting in an oven. I mean, the taste is lovely. I've tried it. It's different. I mean, new technology,
It
new
is
gadget.
interesting, yeah.
It's have you heard of the air oven? It's a small oven,
Right.
and it's very new. And what that does is that's very fast to cook, which makes it very cheap to run. So you will find
So you
that
could
maybe
throw
in the
out your old
future,
oven.
yeah, they'll be redundant. But some people like the old traditional oven, and some people like the new technology. So, horses for courses.
So you're going to have an awful lot of gadgets in your kitchen. There's going to be no space left, right? By the time we've got all of these kitchen
Yeah.
gadgets everywhere, all over the counter. Anyway,
Oh, the bath.
oh, go on, Nick. Yeah, tell us
Um,
about the bathroom.
it's very expensive to run a bath, because you're using hot water. A tip for me, and don't laugh, I swear to God, don't laugh.
Go on.
You can go into a bath if you go in with your partner. That'll keep you warm. You need less water,
Saves money.
and then also you can share your showers. So don't switch it off and on. Just do it. I mean, it
Oh,
really
fair enough.
is. And also, 4 minutes is the longest
Or
you should be in a shower. You don't need any
4 minutes,
longer than that.
right?
I have had a shower. You know the plug that you put in a bath? Okay, so I put the plug in, put the shower on, did my usual shower, turned it off. I mean, I shampooed my hair, like turned it off when I was shampooing, turned it off when I was washing, and kept turning it off and on. See, by the end of it, there was only about an inch of water compared to a bath. Think of how much water's in a
Yeah.
bath. So I saw it with my own eyes. If you just put the shower on when you need to rinse and turn it off when you're shampooing and washing, you'll save a fortune.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So when you're talking about a shower, it doesn't need to be on the whole time, does it? And if you're talking about a maximum of 4 minutes, then you're turning it off when you're applying a shampoo, turning it back on to
Yep,
rinse it and so
that's it.
on. Yeah. And you think that helps save money?
Yep, absolutely. You get into that habit of just switching it off and on when you need it, and it will honestly, it saves you because you can
And
see
put your plug
visibly,
in the shower tray, right?
and it's
Okay.
compared to a bath.
Or you can it maybe once you've filled your shower tray, you could sit down in it and have a bath in it. Who knows?
Again, each to their own. Each to their own.
Okay, I think we've got a question coming in from one of our viewers, from Alison Carbanic.
Hello, Alison.
She says, if I don't want to put my heating on, is one of these oil-filled radiators good, or is that expensive?
Well, first of all, hello, Alison. Thanks for your question. Some people, have the radiators off the whole time, and they try and get through the winter without them. But you have to be careful because your health's of paramount and you need heat. You need, even if it's for a couple hours a day, one, maybe in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. That's the minimum because you have to think about your pipes as well. If you don't warm your house, your pipe's at risk of bursting.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, those fires can be a bit expensive, but the oil running ones, I mean, I've got a plug-in one. I would say that the thing about the radiators is, you've got your valve. I would
Yeah.
actually, it usually has a zero right up to 4 or whatever it is, or blue to red. Put it maybe in the middle, maybe 2 or 3.
So be careful about not turning your appliances up to the maximum, like 5 or 6.
Yeah, 6 is far too high. It starts off with a snowflake and then it's 0, 0, 1 thing. I think I would recommend
And why is
2 or
that?
3, but if you're arthritic, I would say, or have arthritis, maybe, 4 or 5. Because the thing is, if you put that up at full blast, you could be sitting in a house that's 30 degrees. That's not even something we get in summer. So
So we should
that's the
keep it
thing.
at a lower, steady temperature.
Yeah, so what happens is it's just going to cost you a fortune if this heat's just building up and keeping it intense, and then you'll just want to release it.
So keep it low and steady. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Also, the other thing is if you're not using something, right, say you've got a bed in the bedroom that's
Yeah,
not being used, or two maybe radiators downstairs that you're not using, get them off and shut the doors.
just heat where you're at. Okay, okay, lovely. I'm wondering whether, Angel, you have any tips for us in relation to, well, you know, we're coming into the time now where we're going to get involved in our deaf club galas and raffles and everything for Christmas. So, any tips for that?
Do you know, I've been thinking about this and I would really recommend to anybody that's organising a raffle, think about the gifts. Maybe put in thick warm socks, earmuffs, gloves, a scarf, a hat, some nice warm pajamas, a throw, you know, some hot chocolate, maybe a tin of soup, maybe a hot water bottle, anything that would keep someone warm, or maybe one of those sort of all-in-one things, or maybe a teddy quilt, the faux fur. I think these would be more sensible ideas for the winter, and people would appreciate them.
And that's a really nice idea because it's really going to help with the cost of living crisis. And people often do food hampers, don't they, for Christmas? But it would be nice to have a kind of hamper full of thermals and a
Yep.
flask and
Mhm.
really useful things to take home with you that will help people save money. And maybe our viewers tonight who are organizing things for their local deaf clubs, for their galas and their raffles might want
Absolutely,
to think
yeah.
about that idea. Um,
Yeah, but or maybe we organise a Facebook raffle, or maybe an electric throw.
yeah, uh, but gifts that are sensible and that will help with the cost of living crisis, really useful things. Nice idea. And also, with Christmas coming, it might be a good idea to buy gifts that are of the same order as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I think we've got um, another tip from you, Angel. Is that
Oh,
right?
yeah, I forgot to mention this. It's about your boilers at home.
Oh, yes, the
Now,
boilers. Yeah,
if you look at the boilers, one controls the heating and one controls the water temperature,
that's
and they
right.
do have
Yeah,
temperature guides on them. Please turn your water temperature down. You don't need it as
we
high
don't
as you're
need it
getting.
on the
It costs a
max.
fortune. What you can do is run a tap until you feel it's the right temperature, then leave it on that. Why would you want boiling, scalding water coming out of your tap? Because that means the boiler's having to work really, really hard and it's costing a fortune. You know,
Okay,
so rather than having boiling water and mixing it with cold water, cut out the middleman, don't have the cold water and have warm water.
and just have it coming out of your hot tap. So you're looking at turning that down from the maximum and just having it at a temperature that's comfortable for your hands.
Yep.
Okay.
There's another thing, and this is really for children or maybe adults as well. But maybe they're like, you want a snack and they want you to make a cake, and you're thinking, oh no, the cost of the oven, it's going to take so
Yeah.
much time. Well, a tip for you is the microwave can make a cupcake in a couple of minutes, and I'm telling you, they're lovely.
Tell us
They
more.
can make chocolate biscoff. Maybe I'll actually put some recipes up on Angel's Tips on my,
Yes,
my
please.
Facebook page, and it takes 2 minutes. It's a quick and easy alternative to the oven. That could be half an hour or more. You just make it up and you stick it in the microwave, and honestly, 2 minutes.
Great
And say
idea.
that it's probably costing you about 5 or 10p compared to what it would cost in the oven. So I would honestly start using your microwave, and it's literally a cup. You put the ingredients in it, mix it around,
Slam it
and
in the
then
microwave.
yep, put it in the microwave, you out the cup, and this massive cupcake.
So that's saving money, and obviously children love cakes and cooking and that kind of thing, but it can be quite expensive. So
Oh,
using the
they
microwave instead of
will
the
love
oven.
it.
I mean, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Because those traditions of kind of watching things rise in the oven, but 2 minutes in a microwave, as you say, during cost of living crisis, that is gonna save you money.
Yeah, it's how it has to be now, Avril. I know we may prefer to use the oven, but I think as in where we are just now, we have to get over this winter and save the money. We
Yes.
could go
Yeah.
back afterwards.
What I see around now is, a lot more of these smart meters. I have one that I can show you here. So this
Yep,
kind of thing, yeah? And that's showing me I've spent £1.38. Can you
that's
see?
okay. Yep,
Yeah.
that's
That's
good,
for
Avril.
one day, yeah.
Really good.
And it tells you the time and it shows you how much you've used. So this is for your power, okay? And you can set a
Yeah,
budget. So this is a budgeting meter, and I can set the budget and it will tell me that I'm approaching my budget maximum for the day. It's got a kind of dial. Once it goes into red, I know that I'm spending too much. I'm going over the budget that I've set. So I need to cut down and turn something off. And it also notifies me. Let me show you. So you can see that color at the bottom there. I've got a green light on at
yep,
the
I can
bottom
see
just
it.
now.
Yep, yeah, I
Yeah.
can see the light on. Hmm.
So green is
That's good.
good. If it starts flashing red, then I know that I've got too many things going on, like I've got the kettle on, and
Yeah,
I
so
can
you
go
go
around
and try
the
and
house
switch
and turn
everything off.
something off. So that's another option for folks. Um, I mean, as I said at the start of today's BSL Blether, I'm not qualified to give you advice on gas and electricity, but these things are free. If you want to contact your electricity or gas service provider, that company might be able to give you some more information about smart meters. Also, one of my colleagues at the BDA, Robin Ash, is actually on Thursday going to be live streaming about this very topic at 2 o'clock. And you can see that information on the bottom of your screen there. So that will be a live stream,
That's
and
good.
he'll be talking about smart meters, um, and he'll be talking to representatives of the companies and the government on Thursday at 2 o'clock. So that might be worth a watch.
Avril, do you know the wash machine tumble dryer? Now everybody's like not touching the tumble dryer because it's too expensive. Well,
Ah,
there's two options. This is what I do. If you're living in the house yourself, you can get, one of those horses. We call them a
yeah,
horse. Yeah,
those zigzaggy
yeah,
concertina things. Yeah.
that's it. And remember, when you're using the wash machine, always put it in the eco setting.
Why?
That'll reduce. Well, it's cheaper.
Okay.
Okay, so once the washing's finished, it is still damp, not when it's soaking. Stick it over the clothes horse. It depends on the type of material. It might be there for a day, it might be there to the next day. So because I'm by myself, I can leave it there, and then once I'm ready, get all of them out, and then put a washing on again. But say, for example, you've a big family, it can be an absolute issue. But when your washing's finished and you put everything all over your clothes horse, it can sometimes take up to 3 days. And by 3 days, you've actually this pile of washing. What's popular just now? And they are called, let me get this spell, it's a
A
box and it says
dehumidifier.
dehumidifier. Yeah.
Ah,
And they're about 2 liters of waters that they will soak from or absorb from the atmosphere. So, for
right.
example, if you put that in the room with the clothes, it will absorb all the moisture. So, in about 8 hours, the clothes are dry. It's becoming really
Okay.
popular.
So you mean you have your
I'll show
clothes rack,
you.
and then you have this dehumidifier. Right. Okay. Yeah. Um, and it's a sort of box thing, and it absorbs all of the moisture from the air.
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
And it's maybe because the same size as a chair. You have eco versions, but honestly, it's so cheap to run. 9p.
So this is better than a tumble dryer.
Oh, much better, much better.
And I guess it's more natural as well, isn't it? Because a tumble dryer is quite intense.
Honestly, I mean, all of that washing, maybe 60 hours, and it will absorb all of that moisture. And then you just put that away and then repeat the process. It's much cheaper than a tumble dryer, and it really is becoming popular. People are buying them a lot.
Again, getting a lot more equipment in the house here, getting a lot less space.
Well, it's an idea for a Christmas present or a raffle, Avril.
Well, true, true.
You know, if someone has that as a prize, I'll buy the raffle ticket.
So is a humidifier expensive? Again, is
It
this a sort of
can
longer
it
term
it
investment?
can be expensive just to buy it, but actually long term you'll get years out of it, and it
Okay,
means you
good
can
idea.
kiss goodbye to the tumble dryer.
And can you get kind of thinner ones or
Yeah, I've seen ones that are really small and they're really slow absorbing them, but the one that's 2 liters, honestly, that takes out a whole clothes horse.
and is that good for damp as well if you have damp in your home?
Yep,
Mm.
anything that there's sort of like any kind of laundry or anything where there's damp, and it will really absorb moisture.
Great. Thank you. Oh,
There's another one.
I was just about to
Say,
ask
for
you.
example, if there was a power cut and people are worried about that and they worry about, oh my goodness, I've had a power cut and my batteries, my phone's dead and I can't, contact anyone, I would highly recommend getting a power bank. And it's for emergency use. It's a backup charger. And if you look at the bottom, it has different
Oh, yeah,
parts for different,
different
settings,
stuff.
USBs and things. Its official name is a power bank. So what I do is if I'm going to work at a cafe or things like that, and I'm allowed to use the electricity, I let it charge up, and then it's full, so that if anything happens, whether it's a power cut or something, I'm able to put my phone in to give it a charge. And the phone becomes a torch, and I can also uh, text and play games if I wanted while I was waiting.
So do you think that's important? I haven't got one of those. So you think that's an important
Well,
thing to have? I need to buy one, I think.
honestly, it's one of those things you only think about it when you need it. So this is why I'm saying it's better prepare.
Okay, that's going on my shopping list. And, camper vans or campers, people going on holiday with, in places where there is limited power or they might not have access to power. One of these is a good idea.
Yeah, a head torch. Love it. Yeah. That's a fantastic thing for if you're going for a walk in the evening.
Should I put it on now?
Avril. It doesn't suit when you're
Well, that's
signing to
true.
someone because you're blinded. It's
That's
only
true.
good if you
That's
don't
true.
talk to another person.
But candles as well, like if you're wandering around with a candle, they're a bit of a fire risk, aren't
Yeah,
they?
but do you
Whereas a
remember
head
the
torch is much
old-fashioned
safer.
ones with the gas, and you'd
That's
walk
true.
up? They were great.
But this is very useful, just to keep in the home if you have plenty of them around, different torches or head torches, just as backups. I think it's really important to have those available around the home. Anything else
Yeah,
that you'd like to? Any more tips for us, Angel?
yeah, I think
Anything
you
else that
just
you'd like to
just
tell
be
us?
prepared. Just be prepared. Yep. Let me have a wee look at my notes, see what I've got. Where is it?
I think, Angel, we're coming up to Christmas, aren't we? So we're looking at Christmas trees, we're looking at lights, we're looking at
Oh no.
is that gonna be expensive for us?
I mean, it's people's own choice. I mean, if it was me, I will have a Christmas tree. But I'll maybe keep the lights off and maybe just put the lights on when visitors came, and as soon as they left, switched it off. That would be me.
The best. Yeah.
But you need to think about people's mental health as well. It's up to people's choice. I don't want people to be worrying all the time. But if you're aware, you could have a wee look at your smart meter, and it would give you an indication how much the lights are costing, and that would then you could make a choice.
Well, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on my smart meter because this is the first year I'll have had it through Christmas. So it'll be interesting to see what a difference it makes.
I genuinely don't think that there'll be that much because
Yeah.
the type of lights, the fairy lights, I don't think, but also think about using
Yes.
batteries that are things that are rechargeable as well.
Rechargeable batteries. Yeah, it's a good idea.
I mean, I'm not proficient in all of what lights are more expensive than others, but I do know if you use outside stuff, it'll be expensive.
Yeah, you're right. People often go quite big on the Christmas lights, so maybe there'll be a bit less of that we'll see around this year. We've got another question in from a viewer just at the moment, and this is from Erin McCluskey, and here's her question. So these hoodies that you've talked about. Erin is saying that she's bought them for a whole family, these blanket hoodies, these hoodies, and that they've decreased their expenditure on heating because of that.
Yeah, on it, she's right. Worth her weight in gold. As I said, I got mine 4 years ago, and I have noticed the savings, and also it feels really nice. It's
Great.
not like something you go, "Oh God, I've had it this year," and you're looking for a different one next year. It's honestly, it beats the feeling you get from a radiator.
So that's your top tip, would you say?
Yes, and look, now that I've got an old one, nowadays they're even thicker. So this is it's new technology, new fibers. And about £12, and I would say that would be probably online. And you order it, and also remember you can get long ones right down to your ankles now, and they're fabulous.
Oh, lovely. So you could actually get your animal to come in and snuggle, your pet to come in and snuggle underneath, because you were
Oh,
talking about keeping your animals warm. So you could just tuck them in under your hoodie, couldn't you? Lovely.
fabulous
Thank you,
idea.
Thank you, Erin, for that comment. And I'm sure, what we'll see on Zoom coming through the winter is everybody popping up on screens wearing their hoodies.
Yes, and don't forget about dogs too, and an hoodie for the dog.
So, Erin, don't forget to buy an hoodie for your pets if you have them. So the family and the pets. Okay. Sorry. Angel,
Oh,
you want to
Avril, what it was I was talking about if you were looking for anything, advice on sort of money issues or claims, or please contact your local area, whether it be Northern Ireland, Wales, or England. Please, people, if you have any arthritic conditions, keep warm. I know it's hard, and also think about people that have maybe coming out of hospital. Keep the radiators on and
Yeah.
keep warm. Try and not worry too much. If you get any issues, please contact some deaf services for help.
Well, thanks for that, because I think people are concerned about their budgeting, but obviously the government are making a number of announcements about money and that's available to support people in need. So, as I said earlier, we're not qualified to give that advice, but there is a government website which does have information about grants and subsidies that are available, maybe £40 or so, and that's a cost of living support. And you can see the web page address at the bottom of the screen there. So if you have any questions or any difficulties with that, you struggle with the English, for example, or filling in a form, please do
Yeah.
contact your local deaf advocacy or deaf organisation to help you. BDA Scotland, for example, has our BSL helpline. So we have information on that here.
That's great, Avril.
So if you are in Scotland, we're not giving out subsidies, I hasten to say, but if you're having difficulty accessing the information from your power or energy supplier or from the government, and you have some questions in relation to that, then you could contact us on the BDA helpline, and we'll do our best to answer those queries in BSL, because we know that English can be a little bit of a nightmare and a bit difficult to negotiate. So
Yeah, you're right, Avril, because the jargon is just terrible. Every time I get something I don't understand, and it's not fair in people. You know, I would absolutely agree. Contact your local deaf resource. So as Avril said, the helpline, or maybe there'll be other clubs around the other countries.
and group
And
chats and so on. Yeah, it's so important to share this information in BSL. And, you know, social workers for the deaf who can sign, approach your local social worker, specialist social worker, ask them about it. Don't try and keep your worry to yourself. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. Ask for help. Ask for support. Support each other, because it's really important for us to share what we know around the deaf community, using our language, British Sign Language, and make sure that we all know what's going on, who to contact, and that we network with each other, friends and family, and keep us all in the loop. Very important to share this information amongst friends and family, and to support each other through winter, but particularly through Christmas. Make sure, as we've mentioned, that we're buying things that are useful and helpful gifts. And Angel, you've given us some fantastic tips today. I'm just looking through the list that you sent me before this live stream, and I think we've pretty much covered them all. But just one last opportunity to throw in any extra advice. Would you shut doors in the house, or anything else that you want to throw in?
yes, I mean, think about dogs in the evening. I know that they get cold in the evening. You know, keep your door shut with draft excluders. If the dog wants something, they'll go to the door. Open the door, then shut it.
I've got a cat. And if I shut the door, the cat doesn't like it, likes me to leave all of the doors open so it gets free range of the house. Maybe I need to fit cat flaps on all the internal doors, or maybe just leave the door slightly ajar so that the cat can
Still be
squeeze
drafty, Avril.
through. I'm sure we'll come up with some solutions. Well, I think you've covered everything. Any final tips for our viewers today before we leave the live stream?
I think I would like to say make sure you have warm food, because sometimes people where they get worried and they'll say, I won't cook, I won't eat, I'll just take cold things. Please remember you need warm food in your body. And
Internal
remember,
heating.
this is the government will give you subsidies for this. You need to keep warm. You know, we don't want anything to happen to you. So please, you know, cook the food when you need it and everything else, and try and be as much as do everything as normal, but be sensible and switch things off when you're not using them. But please don't sit there and have nothing on. We want you to just continue all the wee tips that I've told you.
Yeah, make sure you keep the controls at a balanced kind of level. And
Absolutely keep wrapped up in warm.
well, thank you for all of those tips, Angel, and especially the solar lamp. I love that. I'm really fascinated. I'm going to be looking for one of those when we go off air. And if deaf people who are watching have more tips, then do go to Angel's Facebook group, Angel's Tips, where you can join in the conversation and add any tips that you might want to add. So I'm looking forward to seeing some more conversations on that Facebook group. But thank you so much for joining us tonight, Angel.
So welcome. Thank you, Avril.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.